Hello and welcome to my Sprint 9 video. So the first time that I'm going to demonstrate is the sprite. As you can see here, I have a new image manager, which takes textures and rectangles and turns them into images, which can then be used by the new sprite class that I've introduced. Here I have Stitch, just as a proof of concept, with air quotes. There he is. He shows up. Good for him. What I want to demonstrate is that the functions that I have for him um, are are close to pixel by pixel. So when you manipulate these origin values, they should be very close to the pixels in the image. So here I have this target rotating generally around its center. I'm attributing the little wiggle to the target being off center by a little bit. So as you can see, it's basically in the middle. And this is a 234 by 234 pixel image. So when I set the origin to half of that, we'll get it rotating just very closely around the corner. Again, I have the little offset I'm attributing to the offset of the image, but the rotating is very close to what it should be. There's a few things that I chose to do about this sprite. First of all, I've made all of these, the scale, the position, the origin, and the rotation, all of these are public. And what I wanted to do from that, maybe I would change the scale at some point. I should probably actually make the scale just one float value. So I will have that in my final. But the thought process behind this is that I want easy manipulation of these values, so the user can do something as simple as setting the values directly or incrementing the values. It makes it very easy on the user. And the only backend cost that I have associated with that is sprites. When they are rendered, you may notice that the render for the sprite is just render. Everything else is taken care of. I calculate the matrices from those values every time that is drawn. So that is how that works, and then the 2D camera is in there. It's just built in, as well as the shader is automatically built in, which is also something that's preloaded in the shader manager, but we're not here to talk about that. As far as the way that I've set up the registration for this, you may notice that here in the plane, there's two calls here, one for submit draw registration, one for submit 2D draw registration. Both of those have a separate registration process, and they both end up in the same drawable manager. So now this manager has a register and register 2D, and two sets of storage. So for the drawable objects, we have a storage list, and for the 2D objects, we have a storage map. It's a multi-map. The reason that I chose a multi-map is because that is how I plan to handle the draw order. The sprite layers will be based on a draw order value that will be assigned, and that'll be this little integer value, and then they'll be sorted. Everything in this multi-map will be sorted by its integer value, and everything will be drawn in that order, which will have the layering effects that we'll want. I don't believe there's anything interesting in here. Two separate functions, process elements and process 2D elements, which are clearly apparent here in the scene draw function. So here, the order that I've chosen to do is we first process the regular elements, the three-dimensional ones. After that, we process the visualizer, and after that we process the 2D elements, and that gives us a lovely. Actually, it's better with the stitch. But that makes sure that everything is drawn correctly. Um, uh, Nothing is transparented out. The layers are correct, and as we can see here, even the visualizer will be rendered correctly. So we see we don't have the box around Stitch, the transparent box, so that everything is done correctly. So that is the sprite that I have set up. For my documentation, I have I'm gonna have two. I'm gonna have a proof of concept for the engine, which is that tank demo that we're working on, and then I'm also gonna have a documentation demo, which is more geared towards setting people up to use the engine. So I'll demonstrate that really quickly. This is what I was working on last week. It's this very simple kind of shooty puzzle game, and I have it actually worked out now, so it should work correctly. I have one bullet to complete this level. I failed, so I'm going to be reset. And if I get it all in one shot, I only get one shot. Then I move on to level 2. And as you can see, I have the collision working in level 2 as well. This one I only get 2 shots to complete it. So here we go. Boom, level 3. And if I were to fail this level, like I will here, then I go back to level 2. So that is the demo that I have. And then in all these CPP, these are all the demo files that I used, or the demo code blocks that I used in my documentation. So I have everything is clearly labeled. These would be provided to a potential user so that they can see a working game with all of the things already set up. And as you can see in my documentation, this is for collision registration. I have detailed information, where it's used in my actual demo code, and ideally these would be provided to a new user for my engine. Here for the alarm, we have a sample what I want the alarm 0 to do. So in this one, and a description of what it would do. Let's see if there's one more. Is there anything in game object? Probably not, honestly. Oh, there's some. The scene entry I have here. So that is where my documentation is. And then finally for my demo, for my proof of concept, splashy. I now have some behaviors in my game. Wow, I'm slow. So now the horses are facing me and shooting me, and if they hit me, I die. But and I have to restart. It's very difficult. And if I shoot the horses, oh, before it shoots me, great. Now I can try to dodge everything. They don't move. Oh, that's bad. And I'm dead. But of course, the thing to notice here is that the enemy have a very rudimentary AI. In the final version, they will be very slowly creeping towards the player, and that is. And I would like to implement something else, but I'm not here to talk about what I haven't implemented. So that is my sprint 9. Thank you so much, and I will see you in class.